It is predictable and arguably stale, though the mid-range to low-end market of smartphones is one of the most exciting and fluid markets around, which leads to devices like this one, the Honor 6X from Huawei, a 5.5-inch 1080p smartphone for $250. What's going on, everyone? Marco here from PhoneDog.com, and welcome to my review of the Honor 6X. The Honor 6X is the next generation from the 5X we saw last year at CES. Packed with new hardware, a slight redesign, and constructed with higher quality materials, is the 6X a worthy replacement for the 5X? Well, let's first take a look at the design. The 6X is constructed completely out of aluminum. Unlike the 5X, which is more of a hybrid of plastic and metal, the design language fits the Huawei family very well and looks very similar to the popular and more expensive Mate line of devices. At the front is a 5.5-inch 1080p display with a relatively low brightness of around 350 nits. There's an 8-megapixel front-facing camera along with all of the sensors. Flip it over to the rear and you will find a 12-megapixel camera next to a 2-megapixel camera for a dual camera setup for focus augmentation and that delicious bokeh effect. Around the phone, you will find your 3.5mm headphone jack and a micro USB port. Not sure why they went micro USB. I would really like to see USB Type-C. Internally, the Honor 6X features a Kirin 655 octa-core processor and a Mali GPU. RAM is 3GB and there is 32GB of built-in ROM with micro SD card expansion on the SIM tray. That's a fairly impressive amount of power and flexibility for a sub $300 device, but the software is really the true test. The 6X runs Android 6.0 and EMUI or Emotion UI 4.1 out of the box. This is pretty disappointing that it doesn't have Android 7.0, but it will be arriving at some point to this device via an update, just not clear when that will happen. The older version of Android, when paired up to an older version of EMUI, the 6X feels very out of date right out of the box. The skin of Emotion UI is one of the heaviest in the market, and the lack of having a proper app drawer just reminds you of how budget this smartphone really is. All of this can be cured with a Google launcher, and I'll definitely do that in a heartbeat if I own this device. Perhaps the 7.0 update will bring more life to the stock setup. Performance, though, is really good. It's quick, doesn't really stutter, and does everything you ask of it. It's honestly all the power you need to do normal everyday things. Gaming is fine, browsing is fine, doing just about anything is fine, and I never really wish I had a flagship device. Until I pressed the home button and saw that terrible UI again, but we'll gloss over that. Though one big feature of the Honor 6X is the dual camera. Taking a more HTC approach rather than the iPhone approach or even their own Mate 9 is a dual camera setup with one high megapixel sensor and another low megapixel sensor. Essentially, the 6X uses its 2-megapixel camera for depth information, which allows you to refocus later and create very creamy bokeh in your shots. Overall, it's alright. I mean, don't expect iPhone 7 Plus results in terms of image quality and bokeh quality, but it will do just fine. But when you compare it to other devices in the same price range, then this camera definitely comes up to the cream of the crop. But one big downside of the Honor 6X is video quality. Video is actually only limited to 1080p, which is a pretty big bummer for the 6X. The last thing I want to talk about is the battery. The battery is a fairly large 3,340 mAh unit, which delivers pretty good battery life, around 5.5 hours of screen on time with moderate to heavy usage, which exceeds a lot of current flagships on the market today. Overall, the Honor 6X is one fantastic device. It's built very well, it has great hardware, a decent camera, but it's let down with out-of-date and clunky software. But for $250, you can easily overlook a lot of that and see it for exactly what it is. One of the best $250 devices money can buy, and let's face it, $250 is very low end on the budget scales for smartphones these days. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, let me know by hitting that thumbs up button below. I want to give a huge shout out to B&H for supplying video gear for this video, including the amazing Zeiss Milvus lenses used to shoot this video, so make sure to check out the links below for the gear used in this particular video. All the links will be below. And as always, my name is Marco Hanna.